From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 116 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that is somewhere in the middle. We are a casual comedy and culture podcast. We like to talk about the things that would interest us. Hopefully they are things that also interest you. If you like any of the content that we have, if you would please share it with your friends, send it their way. You can get back to us with suggestions and comments and that kind of thing. Plenty of ways to do that in the description. Today's episode is all over the map, folks. We're talking about NCAA football. We're talking about WWE wrestling. We're talking about fishing. We're talking about being amazed by what some skilled workers do every day. We even have a couple of dramatic stories centered around rings. All that coming up soon after the music.
Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it?
You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the Middle after dark over here.
You guys, I think the WWE has fans in the audience again, and I'm pretty sure I want to start watching again now that it's no longer just a bunch of screens of people's faces on a wall surrounding the ring.
That was a big barrier for both of you.
It was.
Yeah.
It chased both of us out.
They just had one of their big pay-per-view events. I think it was Money in the Bank, and because I subscribe to a lot of the pages on the socials, I'm seeing shots, and there's like real fans again.
All right.
Edge came back and did his like really dark, brooding goth version of Edge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna dive back in. Anyway,
I'm ready. I'm ready. Now, last time when I got into it before, for me it was the first time in years, right? And so I didn't have any context for anybody.
Yeah.
And so like I went back. I think did I go a year back? I think I went a year back and caught up, and then started watching live from there. What are you just going to like pick up and figure it out as you go?
I've asked around. I don't know if there's a way to catch up on just like storylines, like what's gone on in the last.
Like a TV guide you can
read? Right. Like, is there a website I can go to say like basically here's what happened with Roman Reigns. He had the belt, he lost it, he has beef with this person now. I don't know. I would like to, because I don't want to necessarily come in cold. But that's also a fun approach. You could just come in cold and be like, yep, it's about exactly as I remembered it. And I'm sure the belt changed hands a few times, but now these people are bad guys. They're heels now. And now this person is on this person's team. But for the most part, the storylines are pretty thin to begin with. So it's not like a huge deal if you lose some of the finer points.
That's a good point. I mean, the thing is like when you jump into something like that, and so like I had been invested in these characters. Now I've missed well over a year. And then if I jump back in, like there's some things that I'm going to be like, man, I want to see that development happen, because like from what I gather, Roman Reigns has a new promoter. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I do.
Yeah, just because I saw photos, and I'm like, how did that happen? Like I wish I would have watched that arc occur.
Yeah.
And so like it's hard for me to just jump in and see it there without knowing the story behind it.
Yeah, it'd be similar to like you start watching and like a mummy pops out from underneath the ring again, and they're like, here he is again, and you're like, wait, when did the mummy thing start?
Right, exactly.
I need context. So maybe you just sort of like ad hoc research those things as they come up, but for the most part, just enjoy the topsy-turvy world that is professional wrestling.
Because it's not like it's not going to be topsy-turvy from here on out. Like there's still things that... Anyway.
None of this, Dylan, is making you want to give it another shot. This whole time, I mean, we've talked WWE so many times, and we're in again. None of it's strong enough. None of it compels you. I know you have no time.
No, not interested. It's hard to be interested in anything these days. I spilled quesadilla sauce on my shirt, and the world is boiling outside. So just keeping myself alive and hydrated has kind of become priority number one.
I was going to say Dylan's dance card is already full with Marvel and Star Wars content.
Yeah.
There's no more room.
Yeah, that and Ted friggin' Lasso,
And Ted Lasso.
which is an incredibly good show.
You know we love Ted Lasso here at From the Mid Pod. What else is going on, guys? It's another week. I feel like a lot has transpired. Kids are starting school. Summer is coming to a close, but it's still hotter than balls. What else?
Yeah, excitingly, this is the time of the year where we get to start talking about college football here again here and there. And the only thing I'm really going to say is, as of when this episode releases, we are days away from the beginning of college football. Hopefully we have a relatively normal season, and I'm excited. There's even a pretty decent game on Saturday for the first weekend. We've got Nebraska at Illinois. So a little bit of fun Big Ten action. Also, ICU, UCLA, and Hawaii. That could be a little bit of fun. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited. I'm hoping we get a normal season. All the games get played. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now.
That's what I hope for.
I'm thinking of our international listeners when you just said Nebraska versus Illinois, and they just heard corn.
Yeah. Illinois is the one that has Chicago, by the way. So that's a whole
Guns, guns and corn.
different culture. Yeah.
Crime and corn.
And Big Ten is meaningless to anybody outside of
Right.
Well, we can say the U.S. The Big Ten is a big enough brand that
There's been this I don't know, pact kind of deal among the conferences, Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12.
Yeah. In response to the SEC, we haven't talked about college football in a while because, frankly, there's networks that do that 24/7 that'll do it way better than we will. But to catch up, anyone who is about as into sports as we are, maybe a little less, the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, the champion of the college football conferences right now, poached Texas and Oklahoma from the Big 12 Conference, making the SEC even more storied and even more strong. And so in response to that, we just heard, I think today, that as of when we're recording, the Big Ten Conference, the ACC Conference, and the Pac-12 Conference, which all happen to be slightly more academic in nature than the SEC, all of them formed essentially a giant alliance, partially for scheduling football and men's and women's basketball games, but also, I think, to help shape the future college football landscape, even in regards to things like rules and media rights and tournaments and not just for scheduling. And so there's also a big part of the discussion, as much of it is about money and media. An even larger amount of money comes in the form of academic donations to a lot of the more academic schools and conferences, which can also bring a lot of sway. So I think they've just formed this kind of alliance to keep the SEC from making all the decisions and secure some of their own academic and sports funding in the future. So it'll be interesting to see what the SEC looks like with Oklahoma and Texas in whenever that actual play starts. Yeah. And then to see what kind of scheduling that this new Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC alliance can come up with.
I don't like the SEC, and you know what makes me like them even less? Their slogan at the end of every commercial, the SEC, it just means more.
Yeah.
It means more when we do things because we're the SEC. Ugh.
Yeah.
And the SEC Network's slogan is take it all in. So maybe that's what they mean. They're just taking every other team of any significance and weight.
Very likely. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I really don't expect Oklahoma and Texas to be consistently year in and year out competing for the top slots in the SEC. Like,
oh no, they're not doing that now.
They're going to fall fifth to ninth probably a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I think eventually it could help from a recruiting standpoint, and they could start pulling in some more elite recruits to help contend. But the Big 12 is not known for defense, and the SEC definitely is in a lot of ways. And so it'll be interesting to see how those teams fold in. Probably a lot like Texas A&M, who every now and then will have a good season in the SEC, but not really your SEC contender.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. I think you're right. I think we're watching the NCAA football landscape change dramatically. It started with the SEC in my opinion, power grabbing.
Yeah.
And now we have a response to that. I think before long we'll have this is all conjecture.
Yeah. And anyone older than us would say it started, in the last 20 years with a lot of realignment.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. But
I mean, I feel like we're moving toward like a 2-conference system.
Yeah, maybe.
Like similar to so many other sports, to professional sports.
Mm-hmm.
As the NCAA gets more and more and more professional, at some point it's going to start making sense to just split the country in half and go at it. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, speaking of Ted Lasso and college football, maybe we'll see some kind of relegation system where we can have like the top teams in the Big Ten are only getting paired with the top teams in the other conferences, and the same with the SEC. And then if you have a couple, 4 or 5 bad years in a row, you just get relegated to the bottom and play the other bad teams.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Like club sports.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Each region has its different levels of club teams.
Yeah.
And whatever. The levels play among themselves.
Yeah. Maybe that. Maybe that's what we'll see.
Kendall, to completely shift gears, you have a prompt in our shared note that we sometimes work off of very loosely that says, have you ever dabbled in a project and found yourself in disbelief that pros do that thing all day? So while you're thinking of you guys' answers to that question, have you ever dabbled in a project and found yourself in disbelief that pros do this all day? I'll remind our loyal listeners, very loyal listeners, about a time when I had a very nice gentleman help me with some pool advice, and he came over and said some things in a redneckish accent that I didn't completely understand, but directed me to a chemical supply company.
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember this story?
Yep.
Sure do.
And I showed up 10 minutes before close, and they gave me all kind of sass, and I had to come back the next day and get what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some things were going on with the pool. I won't bore listeners with more pool story details, but man, they're a lot of work. And it was getting green again, and I was like, I need some more chemicals, so I know, okay, I got to go back to this pool chemical supply company place. But I channeled my inner Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people, and I'm like, I'm going to turn Chemical Supply Sue, I'm going to turn her around, and I'm going to have her being my friend at the end of this exchange, right? So this past week, I had to go back, and in the interim, so Sue said that her son owned a nearby restaurant, and I remembered that from the first exchange.
Okay, good.
And I found myself at that restaurant, and it wasn't until after I left the meeting I was there for that I put it all together when the restaurant owner said, yeah, my mom and stepdad, they're getting rid of a motorcycle, but they want to keep it in the family. And so I'm going to go pick that up. And I'm like putting it all together. Wait, I think this must be the son of Chemical Supply Sue. Motorcycle. I'm like gathering intel and things I can use and leverage, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm driving in the pool chemical place, and I know the deal this time. I know I got to go around the side door. I know I got to knock. I know I got to get the things for the carboys full of pool chemicals. So there's a guy in there already talking to the two ladies who gave me sass last time. And from the tag on his shirt, I can tell that his name is Morris, and not one of the three people stopped their conversation to acknowledge my presence in a very small office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Morris was there to have his conversation of the morning and talk with Sue and her colleague, and they paid me no mind. And I was a generation or two younger than them, and they were just going to continue on with their conversation. So off to a great start.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I just kind of stand there and look like an idiot and smile and just like eventually cross my arms a little bit. Still smiling, not in an aggressive way, just smiling and nodding and letting them have their conversation. And when Morris was done with the conversation, I go, Sue, so good to see you again. You know, I bumped into your son at the restaurant that you said he owned. You remember, Sue recommended a secret menu item, the Sue Special, which is a hamburger wrap at the restaurant. I said I didn't order the Sue Special, but I did talk to him about the fact that he acquired you guys' motorcycle. How exciting. Are you going to get a different kind? So I'm just trying to work really hard to just get in there and just, make her day and make her feel special when she made me feel small the last time.
Right.
Anyway, so it worked, you guys. I channeled my inner Dale Carnegie.
Okay.
I used my people skills. I remembered her name. I referenced a previous experience. It made her feel good. Caught her off guard. She visibly sat back in her chair oh, yeah, the Sue Special. Yeah, the motorcycle, my son. And I was just like, this is how you do it. Do you ever leave an exchange with somebody and you're like, this is how.
Yeah. Kory's been reading books for a year. I'm going to get Sue on my side.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you were going to say that as you walked out, you turned around and looked back at Sue and said, this is what the high ground feels like, Sue.
But my answer to your question, Kendall, is pools. There is an alchemy to pool chemicals and atmospheric pressure and wind and whether or not it rained the night before and how many people swam in your pool and did they or did they not have sunscreen on, and if so, you need to use this. I mean, the people that know that and can look at a pool and how cloudy or clear it is and go, this is what you need. Sometimes it's best to just listen to the redneck.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, yeah.
I mean, those guys that do that every day and know what they're talking about. So sure enough, I'm overthinking it. I'm like, that seems like a lot of chemicals to put in a pool, but what the heck? I dumped 5 gallons of liquid shock in my pool, and the next hours later, it was bright blue.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it glows, and any bug that flies over it dies, but it's blue.
Perfect.
Anyway, I have so many examples of to answer your question of things that you're just in awe of. What sparked that question? What is there a story there, or is that just a funny?
Well, I mean, it crossed my mind. Most recently, we were a group of us were replacing some sidewalk, pouring concrete, doing concrete work. Only one of us had ever done any kind of concrete work before, and so the rest of us are trying to figure this out. And doing concrete, you're outside, it's August, you're up against a clock, and it was not fun. Everything is heavy.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking to myself, man, there are guys doing worse than this for 12 hours a day.
Every day.
I did it for a couple of hours and was done.
Yeah.
And it just, I feel like there's a restaurant that was getting remodeled near our house, and I'm getting gas, and while the gas is pumping, I'm just looking next door at this restaurant, in 90-degree heat, sun blazing down, this guy up there just working on the roof.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude,
I've thought about that about roofers before.
You're just up there all day,
dripping sweat.
And this, there is zero chance of you finding shade to be under for even half of your day.
Yeah.
That's just where you are today.
And the heat
and working
that you're experiencing, you experience twice because it's hitting your back and then bouncing off that roof and then hitting you in the face. So it's way worse.
So that's what I think. Anybody working outside in the summer.
Yeah.
I look at them and I think to myself, how do you do this every day?
I thought about, you guys know, I talked about when we had the picket fence redone, completely redone.
Yeah.
And these guys were ripping out old posts, putting in new posts. They did the whole backyard in a matter of hours. Yeah. I thought that too when we had landscapers do all the landscaping, the edging and mulching this spring.
Mm-hmm.
Just the efficiency and yes, it's hard work, but they can do multiple houses in a day, no problem. And they're just off to the next one. I'm the better men than me. Real men doing real work. I'm in the air conditioning, answering emails.
Yeah. Well.
I think the same thing about landscapers and then professional movers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the amount of stuff that anytime that you take something in, you're already navigating doors and you're trying not to scuff or scratch anything, obviously. And then people always inevitably have some super awkward piece of furniture or whatever that's got to go upstairs, downstairs, around a tight corner. You're taking like this antique 400-pound hutch, like up round stairs and
pivot,
and it's just weird, pianos, moving freaking pianos in and out of houses. And, anything that they have to do is always just like, and obviously all of it has to do with the right tools and having systems for doing things properly. Like landscapers already have the right tools and already have the right systems. We don't, but it doesn't change that it's not. It's still super impressive.
I mean, they might get your, like, I watched a video recently, I don't know why, of landscapers putting tree rings around trees, right?
Yeah.
For landscaping. And they take their string trimmer and they have a tree ring accomplished in a matter of 30 seconds. And that's really fast. And like at first you think to yourself, well, if I could do it that fast, it wouldn't be so bad. Yeah, except he did 50 of these today.
Right.
What's a tree ring?
Well, when people have like a mulch circle around their
around
tree.
a tree.
That's all. So just killing grass and then creating an edge.
Got it.
And you can do all of that with a string trimmer with a couple different techniques and have it done in a minute.
Yeah.
Or you could get down on your hands and knees with hand tools and get it done in a very long time.
Yeah.
Which is what most homeowners would do. But yeah, so you think to yourself like that, your first thought, and then of, man, they're so much faster and efficient because they have the tricks, they have the tools.
Right.
And then your second point of like, but they're not done.
Right.
They continue on and they keep doing this forever.
Yeah, it's impressive. Anyway, I loved that prompt. So we'd be curious to hear, do you have any projects, or have you ever been mid-project thinking people do this every day, either because it's a lot of work or takes a lot of expertise and skill? Would love to hear from you. Let us know in the socials.
Hey, maybe they're all thinking,
comment below.
How are people sitting inside all day? I don't understand.
Yeah.
How are they not ripping their eyes out?
The
answer to that question is we don't know.
Good times.
Good times. So we talked about the woes of my fishing last week.
Yeah.
We went fishing this week since then.
Fantastic.
Over the weekend. I've been fishing twice since then.
All right.
And I'll probably be fishing a couple more times this week. And it was great. Joel.
That's a significant uptick from 0 to twice in a week.
I know. I'm so excited. And I bought new stuff this week also. To replace the broken rod reel that I talked about. I've replaced that. I have not used that one yet. But Joel, my 5-year-old, almost 6-year-old, caught a bass. He caught a largemouth bass.
Nice.
On his first outing. I couldn't have been prouder.
Man.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't believe him at first that he had a fish. Like he was like maybe 10 yards away from me.
Yeah.
And I'm like rigging up a pole for one of the other kids. And I hear Joel, Dad, I think I got a fish. I'm like, that's just grass, son.
All right, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I'll come over here and see and get your snag free, whatever. I go over, I grab the pole from him because like we had been snagging on weeds all day.
Yeah.
I say all day. We'd only been out there for like 20 minutes. And so like I was ready to get it snag free. And so I get started. I'm like, there's a fish on there. So I hand it back to him and I talk him through reeling it back in and because
you're thinking first fish ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he reeled it in by himself, caught it by himself, everything, casted it by himself. I took the hook off and he didn't want to go anywhere near the fish and it was out of the water, but we'll get there. And
yeah,
it was great.
It's okay, buddy. I don't either.
That's so exciting. You sent us the picture and you're both beaming. Like I love, we'll maybe share that. I love the picture of you two and what a special time.
Yeah. So now, like, I took all three of them out early in the morning. Like I woke them up at 5:45. We went fishing, and
that's commitment.
That is. I mean, when it's hot, like you got
true.
You've got to do it early or late, because fish are weird. But so I took all three. I took a 6-year-old or 7-year-old now, just 7, and 2 5-year-olds out by myself fishing, and that was a stressful experience at times. Enough to tell me that I'm going to take them one at a time for a little while until they all kind of have a better hang of what they're doing. And so I took the 7-year-old boy out, and we didn't catch anything. But man, he surprised me with his maturity, and that like while we were packing up and leaving, he's like, he had told me, he's like, I didn't catch anything, but man, I'm getting better at casting, and there's that thing that you taught me about the bail, and I think that I'm getting better at that. I'm like, dude, these are the things you should be excited about. This is awesome. Who cares about a stupid fish? You're getting better.
Yeah.
And that made me happy. And he's all three of the kids are like way into it, and they want to go again, and I'm so happy.
That's so awesome, man. Good for you. And well said about it's about the learning and getting more comfortable. But if you're going to catch a fish, a bass is a great first fish to catch because they hit hard, they fight a little bit, and what a cool experience. Yeah, I learned the other thing too about what you said about managing 3 kids at once. I learned that at a pond with a lot of bluegill in it. And if you know anything about bluegill, they just nibble, and you can sit and catch bluegill all day. And so you're just constantly trying to unhook bluegill from Mickey Mouse rods. And you only have 2 hands, and they've got bluegill dying at the end of their line. And you're like, hold on, buddy, I'll be right over. And you're just unhooking bluegill all day. And it's not a fun way for the kid to learn, and it's not a fun way for you to teach fishing. So I like the idea of river or creek fishing where the bites are less frequent and it's a fish that's going to fight a little bit and be fun to catch.
Well, we were in a pond.
Or pond.
A pond that might have bluegill in it, but
they're annoying.
We were specifically targeting bass.
Yeah.
And using appropriately sized baits so that hopefully smaller fish wouldn't mess with it.
Yeah.
But
good stuff.
Actually trying to imitate bluegill. Anyway.
That's awesome. Well, this feels like a great spot to take a moment and hear from one of our friends in the Odd Pods Media Network, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Richie.
And I'm Little Matt.
And here at the 500 Section Lounge, we have a few requirements.
First, you've got to be able to talk about anything at all.
Secondly, you need to be able to laugh, play games, and talk to some very interesting people.
From sports radio personalities to reality television contest finalists and everything in between, we talk to them all.
Yeah, it's all right here in the lounge.
So be on the lookout for what we do next.
And always be there to
grab a listen.
So I'm totally here I'm here for all of the fishing conversation. So please feel free to say more. So you're not boring me with your fishing stories. I love it.
This makes me happy because my wife isn't entirely unappreciative of me nerding out about fishing to her. But yeah, I don't know, man. So like fishing is bass. You want to. I was talking before about trying to target a particular fish, right? And different species of fish behave in different ways. Mentioned that we got up really early in the morning,
right,
to go fishing and all of those things. And we're fishing. We're finding the weeds. We're fishing among them on purpose,
right?
Instead of avoiding them. It's easy to cast and reel in when there's no weeds. It's this time of year, it can be hard to find bass if you fish that way.
Right.
And so, because they're cold-blooded creatures. Bass don't like being hot. And so in the summertime, especially in the heat of the day, they get really hard to catch. They get really lazy, and they're not interested in anything.
Yep.
And like a couple of things that you have to do with bass is you have to get them when they're feeding, and you have to get them when their energy is most likely up. And So for that, you're looking for shade. You're looking for any kind of cover that they have, and you want to throw into that stuff. You want to try to mimic what it is they're eating, probably.
Be the fish. Think like the fish.
Be the fish. Think like the fish. So what's nice? So summertime fishing can be more difficult, strenuous, as far as trying to find where the fish are. Versus in the spring and in the fall, they get much more active. They get easier to catch, easier to find anyway. But the thing about the summertime is that even though it can be more difficult to find them, even though it can be more difficult to motivate them to go after what you're throwing out there, as soon as you find them, they're concentrated in that spot now. Right? They're not spread out all over the pond. They're in these pockets. And like some of them probably dove deep and are out in the middle. Some of them are among the weeds feeding over there. And so imitate frogs, if you can get a look. A lot of times if you go up to a pond and you look at like the first shallow couple feet or so in front of you, you can see what kind of fish are swimming along the bank. And that's what they're eating. And so whether it's shad or bluegill or what have you, like find a lure that looks like that, or find something that mimics their swim pattern, that kind of thing. And
this is great learning here. And
to
to tie it into what we were saying before the break, the same learning that makes those real hardworking men look to us like masters of their craft, that we could never do that, is the same learning Kendall's giving you here about summer fishing. So man, send this to a friend who, because like, honestly, I think
I'll do a fall special in a couple months.
I think most people throw a night crawler on a hook and just see what happens, if anything.
And that could work.
And that does work, but they don't know why they're catching only bluegill, or why they're catching, like, every type of fish has a different temperature preference, depth preference. Sometimes those are the same thing, or one begat the other. Bait preference. I think when most people fish, they're like, I'm just going to put a thing on a thing and see if something bites it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what you can do is just like go to your state's Department of Natural Resources website. They probably have all the information you need.
Yep.
They will tell you what kind of fish are where and what they're doing at that
per
time
body of
year.
water. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times per body of water. Like you can now only the bigger, like I'm fishing in like kind of smaller ponds and parks. Those aren't down there. But if I were going to like Griggs Reservoir, like a big body of water in Columbus, like I could totally click on Griggs Reservoir and get detailed information there.
Yep. Good stuff. I'm glad the weather finally broke. I'm glad that you could get out, and I'm glad that you could have that really cool parenting experience.
Word.
That's awesome.
And I'm hoping that you two do a tangents episode on fishing, because I think that's something we're going to need
now. Speaking of parenting, so I mentioned at the top of the episode that it's back to school, and I had casually mentioned in a previous episode that my oldest daughter, Lily, has decided to transfer to a private Christian academy, and we're super proud of her. But I'll be honest, I mean, her first day was a little overwhelming and a little jarring, and I think she was just, all the syllabi are coming at you, and I don't know anybody here, and what are the expectations, and what are the rules? It's just a lot. So in an effort to do something sweet for her and remind her who she is and whose she is, and just be a visual reminder of an encouragement, my wife gave Lily a ring that her mother had given her. Now, Sherry's mom has since passed, and so this ring was supposed to be like a special little way for Lily to just, like, when you're getting overwhelmed, when you're feeling stressed, just look at this ring and know that you've got this. We believe in you, right? Really cool. On the first day, Lily lost the ring.
Oh, no.
So not only does she have all of the pressures of like this first day at a new school where she has like one other kid she knows, but she doesn't know any of the teachers or any. So Sherry was awesome. She's like, sweetie, it's not a big deal. It's not about the object. It's about, whatever. And I just wanted to give you something. She's like, Mom, but I really liked it. So it's a little bit of a sad and serious story that reminded me of something that happened between Dylan and I.
I know, right?
And I was telling Lily this story, and I think there are like two things in Dylan and I's relationship that he throws back in my face from time to time. And
Do I actively throw this back in your face?
no, I'm being playful.
Okay. Yeah, I totally do that.
Would you like something to throw at him?
One of them is the fact that I begged him for his Lego Spanish Armada ship.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the Spanish Armada, the blue and white one, or
Yeah.
was it the red and white one, the pirate one?
It was a Spanish Armada.
I begged him to have it, and I said he wasn't excited about that. And when we were kids,
You wanted to try building other things.
I
with
wanted
it.
to build other things with those pieces.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, "Can I please have it?" And he's like, "No." And I said, "Okay, but if I promise to like keep all I won't lose any of the pieces, we can rebuild it." And he's like, "Okay, but only if you keep all the pieces." I lost the fabric sails, and I lost some other key pieces of that sets that it could no longer be rebuilt, which we learned because of wonderful websites like Bricklink. You can go get individual pieces to specific sets, so we could rectify that issue. The second thing that he likes to throw back in my face or just casually mention from time to time is our mom went to Ireland in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think it was late 90s. And she brought back a couple things for each of us. And one of the things she brought back for Dylan was
Hold on. You're underselling this part of the story. Mom asked if either of us wanted anything from Ireland. And the only thing that I asked for was the only thing I cared about her bringing me back. Okay, go ahead.
was like a ring with like some Celtic knotwork around it.
Okay.
Silver. And so Mom brought us each back a couple different things, some little tchotchkes and some like throwaway things. But like the big thing Dylan got was the ring. He got a really cool silver ring with a Celtic knot going around it. So I'm in like, this is so fun. I'm in like junior high, I think. And Dylan was in grade school. And I thought I was like, whatever. I was going to the Friday night football game, which in a small town, the only thing to do in the summers and fall is like the Friday night football game. There's very few other social events. And there was this girl 2 or 3 grades ahead of me who used to babysit us, Kristen Clark. Kristen, if you're listening, Kristen was going to be there. And for whatever reason, I decided that I was like going to pursue Kristen Clark, my babysitter.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what she would think would be really cool? A guy who has accessories. So I said, Dylan, Kristen Clark is going to be at the football game tonight, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to sit with her. But do you care if I borrow the ring that Mom got you in Ireland? You know where this is going. Totally lost the ring. And Dylan still brings that up every once in a while to this day. I think it's so funny that I thought this girl's
I'm glad you can laugh about it still.
This girl's going to think I'm cooler because I have a ring from Ireland on.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm sorry about that.
I have a question.
I'm glad you're at a place you can laugh about it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you were recently in Ireland.
That would have been a perfect
And you had an
opportunity. That would have been a perfect opportunity to bring a little something back. Not the one I was hoping for.
It's the appropriate one. It's the appropriate one.
In fact, didn't you travel across large swaths of Ireland where there's probably dozens of different shops? And
I brought you some stickers,
You
if
did.
I recall,
Yeah, you
and
did.
some other tchotchkes from Ireland. I hope to go back one day and make good on that mistake from our childhood. But yeah, I just thought that was funny.
yeah.
All right. So Kory was trying to get me to do something earlier, and I don't care about things being smooth. What I want to do now is just ask for Kory to tell a joke. Come up with it. Come up with a joke, Kory.
Completely stumped. I have absolutely nothing.
Dance monkey.
Dance monkey.
No, that was just a funny story. And it's worse now when you say Kory wanted me to do something earlier because of what the thing is. Just play it.
We're gonna have to explain it anyway.
I think Kory is hilarious.
That's our newest addition to the soundboard.
So delighted.
Thank you, Bobby. That's one of the newest additions to our soundboard, and I couldn't be more excited. It's one of my.
I think Kory is hilarious.
Wonderful delivery. One of my favorite comedians. Anyway, yeah. So, Lily, it's going better for Lily at the school. Where, she'll do great. I think it's just that it's hard to discern like how much of this is because it's freshman year in general. It wouldn't matter if you were at a new school or at the school that you had come from, or it's just it's a new place and new face, and you're questioning, should I have made the decision to come here and all that. So she'll be good. She's a strong kid. She's really independent and confident, and she just likes to know what's up and know what's expected of her. But once she gets in that groove, I have the utmost confidence in her. So
Me too.
yeah, she'll crush
Lily's
it.
a smart gal.
She's smart. She listens to the show every once in a while. So love you, kiddo. You're going to crush it. Anyway, parenting is fun.
Indeed.
Sorry about the ring, Dill.
It's all good. It's funny. It really doesn't take long for me to forget stuff like that, and then you bring it up, and then we can play with it and have fun with it a little bit.
Which did we talk about how when I borrow movies from your DVD collection? Have we talked about that on the podcast before?
No.
Okay, it would fully. So if I just tell you this without that context, the Spanish Armada and the Ring from Ireland, you'd be like, Dylan's a jerk. But now that you know those first two things, you'd be like, I get it. I side with Dylan. When I borrow movies from his DVD collection, he makes me take a photo holding the DVD titles that I've selected in front of my face, so he knows which ones are in my possession. And I want to be like, do you want me to turn to the side and take some this way too, so you have it for your file?
That's an ingenious move, Dylan.
Look, I don't. The phrase "makes me" feels a little strong. I saw it as a tip somewhere on the internet once, and I thought that's a pretty good idea. If you let people borrow things, have them hold it and take a quick picture, and then it's on your phone, and you go, oh yeah, so-and-so has these books or these movies or my favorite ring that I got from another country, and then you'll never forget until you get the thing back. And because a lot of times if you let somebody borrow something, you go, I know somebody borrowed my Bond 50 DVD Blu-ray collection, but I can't remember who borrowed it. Then you'll never forget. Yeah.
I'm just imagining you scrolling through your camera roll with all these pictures of people holding
stuff.
Yeah.
Who owes me what?
It's like a Billy Madison hit list. Like I'm just writing down like, oh yeah, they've still got the Hobbit Blu-rays.
It's been 8 months.
Yeah.
And now that I've in this context apologized for the Spanish Armada and the Ring from Ireland, Dylan's like, and I'm like, boy, am I glad I called that guy.
Yeah.
Messed up the delivery. Awesome.
It's all good.
It's only funny.
Kory is hilarious.
That is gonna take. I have strong feelings about how well that soundbite is gonna do. I'm so glad it's on the board.
I plan on using it ironically most of the time.
That was my intention.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, you guys just have to find soundbites with your names in the audio. It's fun.
It's beautiful.
It's only funny if I bring it up in this context, Dylan. I think we're past that now.
I think you are past. I think you are past that now. Yeah, that's true.
Well, he said we.
Well,
speaking of movies,
yeah, a little bit behind. So I'm going to mention a few pop culture things in passing. This is where most people turn it off anyway, so I guess I don't have to do it in passing.
Stella Mints and Artiest Man use promo code the middle.
Yeah.
Before you go,
hold on.
hey.
Dylan's not talking yet. Hold on.
Before you step out, we got these awesome CBD mints. They are really good. I just tried lemon for the first time. 3 really good flavors from Stello Mints. That's STELLO mints.com. Use promo code the middle to get 10% off your order. You didn't think I was really going to do it, did you? And Artiest Man, artiestman.com, ARTIUSMAN.com for the best men's grooming products, especially beard care, really good oils and beard balm and really good scents. So thanks for the Thanks for the partnership. Love those companies. Back to your movies, Dylan.
Yeah. Artius Man makes sense.
Sure does.
Yeah, I'd rather get paid.
Promo code the middle at checkout to get 25% off your first order.
Yeah, that's on Artius Man. I'd rather get paid than get heard. So that's fine if people want to turn it off now. No, so anyway, so a couple quick things that I was excited about that there's probably a few other folks that enjoy some of the superhero stuff. I just watched The Suicide Squad, which is the newest movie. And honestly, it might be my favorite DC movie that I've seen yet. It was weird and super gross and still awesome somehow. And props to James Gunn. It took them hiring somebody from Marvel to finally make a good movie. And props to James Gunn for putting together a really interesting, weird, gross movie. And definitely not for the kids. So if you've got HBO Max, that's certainly only for adults.
So I don't follow DC much, and that's high praise, by the way, from you, coming from you about DC. I know you don't hate on DC.
No.
You like all geek culture stuff equally. Ish.
Yeah. I mean, there's clearly a soft spot in my heart. The doctors have checked it. It's fine. But for Marvel and Star Wars, but like I love Lord of the Rings and the Pirates of the Caribbean thing. And I've watched a bunch of the Doctor Who stuff. And so I get into a lot of the different nerd cultures. Yeah.
But I was a bit confused because there's Suicide Squad.
Right.
Then Harley Quinn had her spin-off movie, Birds of Prey.
Right.
And this one is The Suicide Squad.
Sure.
So for our more, to take a middler or centrist point of view, for those who aren't as enmeshed in geek culture, there was some confusion about, is that a reboot of Suicide Squad or is it a continuation of? The first one had Joker and all that.
Joker and Harley Quinn. Will Smith played Deadshot.
Yeah. This one has a shark guy. And what was your...
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't know because I never watched Birds of Prey. And I think you're right. I think it is a reboot, and there's a DC fan out there yelling, at their car stereo because I'm wrong or something. But I think it is that there's no mention of the previous film, Suicide Squad. And so I thought it was just like a sort of really bland naming convention for the second one. Like they went from Suicide Squad to The Suicide Squad, maybe for the
with
second.
no like subtitle.
With no like number 2.
Oh, that makes it less confusing.
Yeah, it's like Wii and Wii U. Like nobody knew they were different products.
So it's like they could have gone The Suicide Squad. We finally learned how to tell stories, or something like that. Just as like a subtitle, maybe.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah.
So anyway,
Kory is hilarious.
So there's a shark guy, but it's gross.
Oh yeah. Well, the amount of gore and blood is off the charts. But yeah, Sylvester Stallone voices a shark humanoid that's super awesome. You've got a guy that kills people with polka dots. Harley Quinn is there being Harley Quinn. You've got Idris Elba, who was also in the Marvel universe. Played Heimdall in the Thor movies, is a character in this one. And yeah, it was really, like I said, I mean, it was good and gross and weird, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but if you're into general superhero movies, check it out, as long as the kids aren't around.
Quick spoiler alert, come back in a minute if you don't want to hear this. Tell us about the main bad guy again.
Oh yeah.
Come back in 60 seconds.
A la Ghostbusters with the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. We have a giant starfish that is the main creature that they're fighting, who shoots tiny starfish out of its body that suction to human faces, and they become starfish zombies that are mind controlled by the mega starfish. So a true champion of the sea, the giant starfish. I'd love to see him go straight up against Godzilla and Kong, because that's very much in the vein of what he is. So, yeah, that was our final baddie in the movie, and it was weird and wild.
So let me
I'm
go
not
back.
mad about it.
Let me go back to our working title, The Suicide Squad. We finally learned how to tell stories, sort of.
I don't know, man. That sounds
parentheses. Thanks, Marvel.
Hashtag giant starfish.
Hashtag James Gunn. Hashtag Idris Elba. It was fun. And on the tail of that, we got some trailers for Eternals, which I was like, very apathetic towards until I saw the trailer, and now I'm very excited. And Spider-Man No Way Home trailer.
I saw the first one, didn't see the second. I'm with you. I really had no interest in Eternals, didn't really understand it, don't have all the context of the comics, but man, that trailer was compelling and made me want to learn more, which is what a trailer should do. So well done.
And by the way, the cast, you can just go to IMDb or whatever and look up the cast for that movie, which is off the charts. And then they've got like Academy Award winning director Chloe Zhao, or however you say her name. And on top of that, the cast and the look and feel of it is a little different than any other Marvel trailer. It's not a DC trailer. It's not a normal Marvel trailer. It's a little different. The Spider-Man trailer feels exactly like a Marvel trailer.
So tell me about that. I haven't watched it yet. I'm so excited. It's my favorite character.
No Way Home. Yeah. So everything around Marvel has been building to this idea of the multiverse through like Loki. We know Doctor Strange film is coming, Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
WandaVision sort of leads to this whole idea of that. And so you almost immediately, I think, have Doctor Strange in the trailer. And am I spoiling the trailer? The end of the trailer?
I mean, it's a trailer.
It's a trailer, right? It's not the movie. So if you don't want it spoiled, pause or come back.
But no bones about it. They're like, some people were wondering. Well, here he is, folks.
Well, there's Doctor Strange, and essentially, everyone knows who Peter is. It's Peter Parker. It's creating a ton of drama, and so he goes to Doctor Strange and is like, "Is there a way to reverse just the part where everyone found out who I was?"
Right.
And that's what Doctor Strange does, which opens up this whole bag of worms. And then at the end of the trailer, we see from a previous non-MCU Spider-Man film, we see Doc Ock come back with the same actor that played it in Spider-Man 2, coming back, which just alludes to this whole rumor that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are coming back, and there'll be 3 Spider-Man characters in this movie,
which would bring full connective tissue and cohesion to all of those reboots. It would all make sense.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man theoretically would just exist in alternate universes to the main MCU timeline.
Wow. I recently made a comment that like I spent some time catching up on Marvel, and I want to spend some time catching up on Spider-Man, realizing that it's not the same thing as what it was to catch up with Marvel. It's just I want to see the Spider-Man movies and know what's going on among them. But this makes me feel like I need to watch because the iterations, and
that's such a great point, because like you are coming in with like less experience having watched those films, in some cases not at all, and like you saw bits and pieces, right? And one of the biggest criticisms of the continual Spider-Man reboots was like by the time you got to this newest iteration, people were like, seriously, you had the Tobey Maguire ones and then you had the Andrew Garfield ones. You're devaluing each mini franchise or trilogy when you say that, because it just feels like the studio doesn't know what they're doing, and it feels like you're talking about experiments and these weird little side tangents. Something like this, like, of course it's retconned, whatever, but it brings it all together and it gives them value again. Even though they were in the like early 2000s was when the Tobey Maguire ones were coming out.
Right, because now their whole backstory and the character development they've experienced still comes full circle.
It still matters.
That's who they are if they do presumably collide in this new film. That all still mattered. And they still became better versions of themselves just in parallel universes to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So I'm excited, man. It was cool to see Doc Ock back, and I'm excited to see there's rumors several other villains are coming back from the other movies.
Alfred Molina?
Alfred Molina, played Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. Nice.
Yes.
And so between Eternal, being excited for that, and Shang-Chi is doing considerably better with its international release and early reviews and critical reviews than even expected. We're going to have some much more Marvel fun this year, and 2 more Marvel Disney Plus series still come out this year, which is wild. So we're going to have 3 more movies, 2 more Disney Plus series just in the Marvel universe.
Does life get any better? I submit that it does not.
Not for me. I was talking with Harley, who's been on the show before. I don't remember which episode.
I'll look that up. Keep talking.
My buddy Harley, and we were talking about, you know, him being a little tired of the MCU, and we've had this discussion before, so I'll give you the really quick version. We could have only imagined as kids being able to see all of this play out in a couple movies, live action, let alone from episode 85. Go back and check that out. Harley's an awesome dude. We had a ton of fun in that episode. We could have only imagined getting a couple really good live action superhero movies. And now here we are with like 25 movies in the MCU. It's pulling in past Spider-Man that we cared about, you know,
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man characters that we cared about. And, I'm going to enjoy every little bit of Marvel and Star Wars in high quality while I can, because it won't go forever. And there will be a dark period again where we won't get movies or they won't be well done or they won't tie into the whatever. And it's not going to be as fun. But this is like a golden age if you're into those fan bases, and I'm going to enjoy every freaking minute of it. So yeah, I'm stoked. I got super excited after the Eternals trailer, and then literally, and thank you, several listeners of the show were like messaging and text messaging and Facebook messaging me links to trailers. So, thank you for that. I love it.
Now you guys know why he has no time to keep up with all this nonsense in the WWE.
If it ain't Ted Lasso, Marvel, or Star Wars, I don't got time for it.
I'm out. Oh man, we have been all over the map in this one.
This has been wet and wild, that's for sure.
WWE, jobs that are hard, fishing, serious stuff, parenting, college football. Man.
I think this episode should just be called Stuff.
Stuff.
The first one that's ever just called Stuff.
Yeah. Hey, if you are still hanging at this point, we love you and
deeply.
God bless you, and we're sorry. Super excited. Just had some correspondence today. Stay tuned, you guys. We have some really, really exciting guests in the works. I don't want to,
Tom Hanks?
Yeah. Something about chickens and counting them and eggs and hatching. But man, I am so excited. I cannot believe that some of these people have said, yeah, let's do it. Super excited to share that with you soon. So stay tuned. They're not all going to be like this. We'll actually have points and intention and thoughtful questions and cool guests. I'm kidding. This is always fun.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. It's a joke.
And hey, and let me plug too, speaking of guests.
I have to be self-defecating.
Let me plug one of our Odd Pods media friends and affiliates, Keeping Up with the Cardassians, is a great podcast. They just had Nana Visitor from Star Trek Deep Space Nine on as a guest. What? That episode has yet to release, but yeah, part of the main cast. So if you're a Star Trek fan, follow or subscribe to Keeping Up with the Cardassians and check out that episode with Nana Visitor. It's pretty cool.
Good stuff. So stay tuned, guys. There's always something fun just around the corner. You know the deal. Episodes drop every Wednesday. Sometimes it's just us catching up and hanging out and sharing life with one another like we did tonight. And sometimes it's guest-driven and very topical. So we just appreciate that you're along for the ride. If any episode you've ever listened to you think would be interesting, please recommend it to a friend. Just send them a link. Hey, I think you'll like these guys. It would really mean a lot. Word of mouth is everything to indie podcasts like ours. So we really appreciate it. Of course, rate, review, subscribe, like, all the things, but really it's the word of mouth that helps us most, so we would appreciate it. And as always, you can reach out to us on social media at From the Midpod everywhere. You can email us, you can call us. We've made it really, really easy for you to connect. Details are in the descriptions and bios as always, but it makes it a lot more fun if we hear from you and you weigh in on some of these things that we talk about. So that would mean a lot to us. If that's something you've ever thought about doing, just do it.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
Yep.